And we're off.
And we're off.
Hello and welcome to Honorary Minorities, the podcast with a dumb name and dumber hosts. I'm Isaiah.
I'm Zai Wood.
And today we have two special guests, mainly because our Sophie, she got caught. It's over for her.
Yep, it's done.
She got deported.
Oh, no.
I'm joking. She's sick. But we have two guests here today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Okay. I'm Kabella.
I'm Gabe.
That's all. We don't have like some cool title or anything.
Oh,
She's lamer.
we don't need a cool time.
Okay. Well, we just started.
We're off to a good start. That's the
No,
thing.
What the heck,
very
man?
good start. All right. So today's topic. I'm going to say that again. Today's topic is going to be conspiracy theories. Each of us, I feel like, are pretty, or maybe not all of us, but we're all pretty familiar with conspiracy theories. This is going to be a first and only two-parter of this season, I guess.
Woo.
So, why don't we start with the guests? What are your guys' backgrounds with conspiracy theories?
My Nana, I do believe, is an expert in conspiracy theories, and I have picked her brain extensively. That's about it. I did, for this podcast, build a theory. So now I have experience in like constructing one. That's it. That's my entire conspiracy theory background.
I have always been a hyper nerd, so especially about the about all of the crazy stuff, aliens, the ocean, all of it. I've loved it since I was a kid, so I've been well versed in all the cryptids and all that sort of thing since I was but a wee little child, and then kind of phased out of it because they started getting way too real and political. And then I have a friend who's like the biggest expert you will ever meet. It's just a shame that his conclusion is one that I do not agree with a lot of them. So I don't super talk to him, but I do have this like encyclopedic knowledge or database person at my disposal whenever I need for any sort of conspiracy theory. Yeah.
Zai?
I'm not too much into conspiracy theories like on my own time, but like we do have those questionable people in our family that are on some kind of something. And they're always talking about something that's probably not even happening. But then again, who knows? Because we're not the ones looking into it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much. That's all. Just questionable family members.
I myself, I have that family member, my tío, my uncle. He's very much into that. He could turn any conversation. Legit, we were watching a Christmas movie, and he turned the conversation to like the Illuminati or something. Like it was. It's impressive.
Jeez.
But kind of partly because of him, and even just just getting into creepy YouTube and things like that. I got like super indulgent in kind of that conspiracy theory, like creepy stuff. Yeah. Admittedly, I will say this: Shane Dawson was definitely my gateway.
I completely forgot about Shane Dawson.
I do too, and then I'm like, oh, he just made conspiracy theories, and then he had that whole controversy where he did stuff. So I was like, I kind of stopped watching him after that.
Yeah,
but yeah, so that's kind of that. Now we're gonna do something a little different this episode. We're gonna go through each of the things we're gonna talk about, kind of explain what they are. And then we'll rank them after that, just so we can kind of get everything out there and then kind of rank them relatively to how it is instead of changing the ranking throughout the episode. So, first up, aliens.
real.
We know them. We love them.
Do we love them?
Right here. Right here. I promise I'm legal. I got the documents and everything.
I don't know about that, is he?
Bro, shut
I thought
up.
your green card in Uno.
No, Kabella, don't call him.
Oh,
Dummy.
yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. I won't for now.
For now.
For now.
For now.
For now.
You
No.
won't.
We shall see.
Gabe Killer.
What?
So
I mean,
it's not.
gladly, but also.
Okay.
Oh.
All right.
Anyway, back to the topic. Now, with aliens, there's of course a bunch of spiraling other conspiracy theories. You got Area 51. You have, of course, just the general one that aliens are around. They exist. You have some that they're from other dimensions, that they've been among us, the whole ancient aliens things that they're responsible for building pyramids, for building Stonehenge, whatever. Almost like half of the conspiracy theories around are going to be involving aliens in one way or another. It is a very broad thing, and of course, one that is very interesting and common. I feel like it is kind of like the basic theory you think of when you think of conspiracy theorists, at least before. But anyway, another one, the next one, China's real population. This one I find quite interesting. This is the theory that China has essentially been faking their population numbers, that they've been lying about how many people they have, and that it's actually a lot less.
Why?
For political gain. If they have a lot of people, they kind of get that measure or whatever. They kind of get a little bit more like oomph to them.
I wonder though if that's true. If they were slightly faking it, that's one thing. But also, I do know that when like COVID happened and they relocated a bunch of people, to relocate that many people if they were lying about their population wouldn't make sense, because that would be a sizable chunk. If they had a population similar to the US but let's say twice as much, and they relocated 5 million people, that's still a lot of people. Whereas if it's over 1 billion, that's not as, the ratio of that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to that. It'd make a lot more sense if they weren't lying about it, because they also just kind of disappear millions of people at a time because they have so many people to disappear.
Yeah, sure. Then, of course, you have other things going on with China that may... Yeah. Good point. Now, next one, the Civil War sightings, or specifically the ghost ones. Mm-hmm. So this kind of goes... Like, there's so many different stories about this. You could probably find a new one on Reddit every day in terms of a different ghost sighting, ghost story that kind of centers around the Civil War, whether within the Civil War itself or, someone going to Gettysburg. And the ones that I'm more familiar with is if you go to Gettysburg now, you'll see ghosts of old soldiers that are, long gone. You can hear sounds of warfare in the background. I think there was one where some kids were exploring some like abandoned warehouse nearby, and they saw a nurse performing, and they made eye contact or something like that, at that time, and then she disappeared. So
okay, but then I ask, but why? What is so significant about the Civil War specifically that's what's showing up over and over again?
I think
why?
Especially with the Civil War and especially with Gettysburg, there are probably a lot of negative emotions around that time with each other, and the fact that it was an insanely bloody and violent war.
Okay.
You kind of have this mass event of death in one concentrated area, and I think there was even things of Gettysburg was once a Native American battlefield as well. That's pretty common. So not only do you have all the Civil War deaths, you also have all of previous Native American tribes that were fighting in that area as well.
I still question that because I've heard a lot of these theories as well, but I've often never heard people talk about how, for example, Paris was a battleground for a while in World War II, but nobody talks about Paris being haunted by World War II soldiers.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't really track unless America's built different and our wars are worse, so therefore we get ghost and no other country does. Because you don't really hear about other wars doing the same thing. So I'm like, I don't know.
Well, actually, you do hear about it with the Vietnam War.
Do you? Okay, I've not heard this.
In the forests of Vietnam, we do hear about this.
Okay.
So I had heard a theory about Vietnam specifically that I guess maybe could apply to the Civil War, which was that sometimes a lot of death is a really heavy spiritual problem. That is a really heavy situation, especially spiritually. And so sometimes, especially because the spiritual realm kind of exists outside of time, there's just a lingering depth of pain in that area. Because that would also tracks with the Holocaust as well. There's lots of sightings with the Holocaust as well. So that was a theory that was presented to me, was there's just really heavy spiritual areas because of lots of death and war.
So
and
high death counts in small areas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think it's very interesting. All right, next, Titanic. Specifically with this one, kind of more on the, of course, with the idea that it was a setup, which I'll say, personally, even as a kid, I always thought the whole like, oh yeah, we just randomly encountered an iceberg while we're just supposed to be heading east. We somehow went all the way north and hit an iceberg. That always felt off to me because I was like, that doesn't make sense. How do you get lost like that, especially when you're supposed to be on like the most important ship in the world at that time? Then you have the stuff to where you have photos of the Titanic and the Olympia, which was another ship within that company's fleet that was not quite as big as Titanic, I believe, but close. And if you compare photos of the Titanic leaving and photos of the Olympia, they're almost identical, if not, the same. And then usually my rule of thumb when it comes to conspiracy theories, especially the bigger they are, is what slips through the cracks and how specifically does it happen? Is it just some random guy that's like, oh no, what you do today? Or is it people that whistleblowers that actually say something? For the Titanic, you have reports of crew members, of employees slipping up and calling the Olympia the Titanic, or vice versa, kind of referring to, or even just outright saying that the Titanic that left and that sank was in fact not the Titanic.
The Olympia. I've heard that theory a lot, especially with the whole thing that they took out a big insurance thing, but they didn't actually want to lose their capital ship, so they sank the separate one for the insurance claim, and then so that way they could have both.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting and almost haunting idea to think about. Now, next,
real quick, has it been 5 minutes?
It's been 11 minutes.
Okay, the CIA killed John F. Kennedy.
Oh, we're getting there. Gosh.
Why did you need to wait till 5 minutes?
Because that's when the YouTube stops tracking.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Why?
Yeah, there's like a tracking thing on YouTube, and if you say something weird in the first 5 minutes, they'll flag your video. But if you say it after the first 5 minutes, it's fine. That's why the first 5 minutes of a lot of conspiracy videos and stuff are just kind of useless.
Oh, that makes so much sense. You always have to skip that. Yeah.
Yep.
So what you're saying is I could say whatever I want after 5 minutes.
No.
Oh,
they'll still get you, but they just stop checking as much.
That's
So like saying like the CIA killed JFK.
If you say that in the first 5 minutes, you're getting flagged. You say it in after 5 minutes. No.
Feels like a little flaw in the system.
Maybe a purposeful
It's just
flaw.
how they did. Yeah.
A purposeful flaw.
crazy.
Anyway, Gabe,
Malicious
you might actually have to
compliance?
take the wheel on this one. The next one is Mothman.
Yeah. So Mothman is very famous, probably arguably the second most famous cryptid that currently exists besides Bigfoot. And essentially it starts with there's these sightings that go back to like 1960s, I believe, of the Mothman, which is described as just being around 7 feet tall, giant wingspan, looks like an insect, glowing red eyes, always makes the person feel very unsettled or particularly a sense of dread. And it's some cases are, two couples are out, they see it, and then it lands on their car, it scratches the hood, and they have the scratches on the hood to kind of back it up. And then the big thing that launched it into, okay, this is not just like a local folklore, but into a really big thing is that there is a picture which shows something that is believed to be the Mothman on the Silver Lake Bridge, which then collapsed later. And then Mothman became associated with people would see him whenever there was a disaster or any sort of thing like that. And so the general legend is that he is either like an evil spirit that's causing this. A theory that I've put out there is that he is more of like a warning that something bad is going to happen, or he's just a weird cryptid and he just happens to be around. There's a guy, I think his name is Thought Potato, who's done like a anatomy video on what Mothman's anatomy would be if he was real. And he actually goes into how even a creature could produce like the uneasy, unsettling feeling using like super low frequencies that we can use in horror movies nowadays. That study is referred to as psychoacoustics, and it's believed that he's like, well, a lot of insects vibrate wings to produce sound, so it's totally feasible that he would be able to vibrate his wings to create low frequency sounds to give that uneasy feeling. That's why everyone is like, ooh, he's creepy, he's weird. Yeah, that's more or less the Mothman story. It's Mothman.
That one's always fun. I like that one. Very, very neat cryptid.
Wait. Did you ever look into John Keel?
I didn't get a chance, unfortunately.
Dang it.
Yeah.
He's studied a Mothman a lot. Oh, I wanted to know what your research on him was.
I wanted to, and then unfortunately I got distracted by Erica Kirk.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I'll give a pass for that.
Anyway, Kabella, you actually want to take this one. This one's the moon landing.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I'm going to be honest. I got really caught up in my Leviathan theory, and I honestly didn't research a whole lot on this. I have just heard a few things. And so, obviously, people are like, okay, the moon landing's fake. Genuinely, I would agree with you. The moon landing probably is fake. But not that we never went to the moon, just that when we said we went is not when we went. That would be my theory. I think that it was like a live broadcast from space. Yeah, I don't know about that. Pal. I don't think you did. And if you watch the videos, of course, there's a lot of I don't think it works that way. If you watch, there's just a lot of, I don't know. But I think we faked it just to be like, we won. Nope. Go away, Russia.
Something that kind of knocked me into that is because at first I was always kind of iffy on it. Like, I can see it, but I'm not sure. Like, I'm always kind of in the camp of I'm usually on the fence until I see more solid evidence going one way or the other. This was more just a thought I had. How are we filming them? If we're able to film Neil Armstrong getting onto the moon and he's the first man, how are we filming that?
The explanation that NASA's given is they had a camera on the side of the space shuttle preemptively because they knew they were going to broadcast it, and then they brought a camera with them to broadcast. So that way, basically what happened is Neil takes the first step, and that's the camera on the side of the shuttle, and then everything else we see where it's like him walking around is the second astronaut holding a camera.
So that camera on the side of the shuttle survived landing on the moon through space?
Don't.
But it's an interesting one that I think has been...
if I shake my camera too hard, it breaks. But no, you're right. It did definitely land in space.
Yeah, we even have... Was McDonald's around back then? I know it's like a random question, but okay. Never mind then.
Should have. Yeah.
We didn't even have Mortal Kombat back then. We were getting landing on the moon. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Wait, Gabe was telling me more about this yesterday. About why... Yeah.
Yes.
Remember?
So the Encyclopedia of Conspiracy Theories friend that I have is also an aerospace engineer by degree. That's what he studied. And he's talked about it's really weird that after the moon landing, we went there a couple more times for science. And then all of a sudden, NASA lost funding and we lost the technology to leave our atmosphere, which is why if you go track new NASA stuff, it's a really big deal that we figured out how to radiation shield, because there's a bunch of solar radiation that's out there in space because there's no atmosphere. We just now have gotten back to the point where we can send humans up there safely, send humans out to the moon safely all this time later after we apparently did it before. And he went into a bunch of technical terms. Unfortunately, I do not know science that way, but he went into this type of this constant and this type of radiation can't humans can't survive it for this amount of time, blah, blah, all of this super science stuff. And he was like, none of these numbers match. None of them make sense. None of it's working. Where did this technology just disappear to? And now we're suddenly getting back to it. What is that? How does that work? And so then what I was saying is I was like, I wonder then, because we definitely did go to the moon at some point. It is definitive we have been to the moon, because the pictures that we have of Earth just can't be faked in the way that we have them. Yeah. So at some point we did manage to get up to the moon, but then we lost funding and lost the technology. And where I took the theory is I wonder if humans weren't meant to go past Earth. I don't think we're supposed to leave because of some stuff in the Bible that happens. which would then mean that I wonder if the people who went to the moon found something there. Like potentially a guardian or something that's like, hey, humans aren't supposed to go past this point. Like this is as far as you go. So because of that, NASA got defunded, and therefore
because that would be terrifying.
yes,
yeah. And on that, we also have the thing of like, kind of on that thought. It's like we haven't seen the dark side of the moon.
nope,
The dark side of the moon is genuinely a mystery to us in terms of what it looks like.
Yep.
And that is just a terrifying thought to me. Even accepting the fact, like, okay, like everything about it is real. We've been to the moon, whatever, right? That is still a terrifying thought of like, oh, you don't know what's on that side. It could just be nothing. It could just be more the moon we can see. Or who knows?
yeah, it could be something
Yeah.
completely else. And I was like, I could totally see it be some astronaut went too far, and a literal angel popped up and was like, hey,
Be afraid.
Be afraid. Do not go further.
Yep, you are not allowed out here.
Yep. So, yeah.
Now, the next one, the Denver airport.
Ooh, I love the Denver airport.
The Denver
Yeah.
airport is weird because I didn't do as much research into this one as other ones, but it was just a case of like there were different architects for each one. The buildings that apparently weren't functional were just buried instead of destroyed as they normally would be.
So weird.
It's a very strange layout where I think the airport is technically bigger than some major cities. Like I think it's bigger than Hollywood, I want to say. I could be wrong, but there's just some cities. There's just some cities to where the airport is just bigger, and it's like a weird layout. You have what was the horse in front called?
Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Oh no, I forgot that one.
I was like, it's gonna be called something weird. Like, it's not
Yeah.
gonna be like two on the nose. It's kind of one of those. Like,
No.
it's just Lucifer.
Nope.
Pretty clear.
And then I remember, isn't it like a thing to where like when it finished construction, it fell and killed the architect that built it?
Yep.
Yep.
The person who built it died.
Yeah.
The whole thing. It's
Yeah.
and
It's built on like an ancient Native American
Burial ground?
burial
Yes.
ground too, right? Yeah.
And
No,
it's-
it's just the perfect storm of.
Did no one watch The Shining?
That and you go and you look around and there's Freemason symbols everywhere, and you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that explains it, doesn't it?
Yeah, got a whole bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now we can get to the one that you were talking about, Gabe. The CIA, not say the CIA. We don't make full factual claims here. JFK assassination.
It was them.
Gabe's unafraid.
Isaiah said it was them.
Would it be the CIA or
So
would
that
it
was
be
both
like?
good.
As I don't know if I had heard that back in the day that was JFK was like involved with a mob at that point. Would that be the CIA or is that like totally different?
Every president is connected to crime in some way if you trace it back far enough, just because crime families are really powerful here in America, but not in a substantial enough way to justify the killing, especially because his thing was right before he died, he went, hey, it's really weird that the CIA is doing all of this stuff and they're kind of doing it outside the jurisdiction of the presidency. I'm going to defund them and look into what they're doing. And then he died right after that.
Sorry, you had a bug. It's been
Oh.
bothering me.
There was a bug. I saw it.
Yeah, I seen it flying around. Yeah.
Sorry.
It was like actually.
Y'all saw that. She just hit me.
No, yeah. That was the main camera and everything. It was up and everything.
No, there was a bug.
You're not beating the accusations.
You just confirmed there was a bug. Okay, all right,
She
all right.
abuses me.
He just said at the beginning of this episode that he'd be chill if I died.
She's hit me like countless times whenever we had class together, so I understand.
I don't know what they're talking about.
No, back to what I was saying. Isaiah said the CIA killed JFK.
You know what? And I believe it. It is like, because it's weird. I'm sorry. The magic bullet, no. I think it's there in the name. It's not possible what happened with that bullet. It's weird. You have this Zapruder film that kind of has a thing where you're like, oh, the driver shot him, which even there was this workshop we did in my U.S. history class one time to where it was like, all right, class, we're going to look through all the JFK things. We're going to read 3 articles. We're going to read one that just goes with the official story, one that's a conspiracy theory, kind of more conspiracy theory-esque with the CIA, and then one that's more conspiracy theory-esque with the mafia. I read all 3 of them, And I was going in with the idea of like, okay, I do think it's the official story. Because at the time I wasn't really as into the stuff, and especially with JFK, I wasn't as like, it's whatever. I was reading them, and I was like, wow, it's super weird how the Secret Service was like, no, we're not going to have protection. No, we're going to take this random road. No, we're not going to, speed up or get you out of danger. Like, it's just a bunch of weird things, and I'm like, this doesn't happen.
Yeah, then you get into weird stuff of like the second shooter on the grassy hill, the umbrella man, the stuff like that, where you're like, why was there a man with an umbrella standing there when it wasn't raining? That's a bit weird. Why then did he just disappear? Yeah.
Yeah, it's super weird. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Anyway, this one's actually kind of fun. The dead internet theory.
Oh, yeah.
This theory kind of just states the idea that the people on the internet are fake. They're not real. Especially, it's something that I do kind of believe in, because when you look at like Instagram comments, for example, I think it's the most relatable one to me. There's a lot of them that are very, you can kind of tell are bots. They're either clearly rage bait, engagement bait, or whatever. But then it's also the idea of how many of y'all, like you guys and our audience, actually comment on Instagram posts.
Sometimes.
I was like,
I do sometimes,
right?
yeah.
Like,
Sometimes, yeah. It depends. If I have something good to say, I'll say.
right. Like if it's like I'm only really responding with like GIFs sometimes or GIFs or whatever. Just I'm like, okay, there's a funny meme response to this, right? And I'll make it. But I've only done that like twice. That's kind of it. So it is just kind of like the amount of engagement that's on the internet compared to how many people don't really engage actively is super weird. And of course you have, people viewing live streams. How many people are sitting there watching a live stream?
Well, yeah, thankfully, Turning Point halftime show really showed this off. They had so many thousands of viewers, I believe, and the chat was like sitting still, which doesn't happen with that many viewers.
Nope.
Yeah, usually with that many, it should be moving so fast. Like the Super Bowl chat, you can't read that.
No.
That is just a blur of like comments.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Now this one is probably one of my favorites. Missing 411. These cases are weird. They're super weird. Missing 411 is essentially, missing peoples, missing children. Specifically kind of, at least in the context of this and most conspiracy theories that I see around it, specifically around the Appalachian Mountains and other national parks. To where, what was his name? Evan Martin? Was it? Like the main, like the kind of the first main one with the Green Berets.
Sure.
I know the case you're talking about,
Yeah,
but I don't know.
I don't know the name, no.
Let's see if I've written down. You guys talk about something while I find this.
So,
Well, here, I could actually give contribution to this. I think I'm on here to talk about Bigfoot as well, which Bigfoot's like I know a lot about Bigfoot. We could just kind of skip to that just for a sec, because that also really relates to that, specifically that case, because one of the theories is that it was Bigfoot. So I think when you're done with your little thing,
Also, Dennis Martin was his name.
got it.
But
Yeah, when you're done with your little thing, let's circle back to Bigfoot. Yeah.
there are plenty of cases, including cases like Dennis Martin, to where that's the case I'm most familiar with. It's basically where this kid and his brother were just playing, like they were in the bushes, or like they're not crazy far off in the woods. They're in a place where their dad can easily see them, whatever, right? The dad turns his back. The other brother like looks away from him for like a minute, at like a few minutes at max, and he's gone. Just like without a trace, he's just out. And no, not like he's gone. They can't find him. A massive manhunt was sent, including Boy Scouts, the FBI, like all sorts of different people that were looking for him. No one could find anything, with the exception of the Boy Scouts, who found a footprint and a left shoe. That stopped by a river that was nearby. After that, the Green Berets went over to the other side of the river, went radio silent, so there's no record as to what happened over on the river for the next few days. And they came back, and that was it. That was the investigation. No official, which granted, it is possible they just found like his body mauled by like a mountain lion, and they just told the parents, and the parents didn't want to publicize it. That is possible. But it is still weird how everything else happened. The left shoe, the kid disappearing kind of just out of nowhere.
Well, and like it can't be a mountain lion. You disappear. That kid's screaming.
Yeah.
The whole time. How are you going to get a footprint later on if he's already dead? No.
Yeah, especially because mountain lions usually, or a lot of cats kill by strangulation. So that would mean he would have been fighting the whole time before he died for a couple minutes. No, nothing.
Mm-mm. Can we go to Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the theories on that is that it is Bigfoot, which is one that my Nana subscribes to. So but here's why, is there's a lot of cases of kids going missing, similar situation, and all that's left behind is a left shoe, specifically usually by water. So my Nana would tell you that Bigfoot it's a species, Sasquatch species. They live in underground tunnels in the woods, in forest areas, and they specifically snatch children because they're easy to get, and they eat them, essentially. And she said, she's given me a whole bunch of random details on the Sasquatch species. They smell really bad. Like, you smell them before you see them, which doesn't make sense in this case because it would have been so close to these people. Mm-hmm. I don't think this one is Bigfoot. Yeah. It's just it's connected because it is a theory that it would be Bigfoot. So you would have smelled him. And she said that just like people, there are like good Bigfoot and bad Bigfoot. So there's, she said she's heard stories of people that are like trapped under a log in the woods and Bigfoot comes and rescues them, which is odd. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. They're almost like just really animalistic people. Anyways, here's my theory that I kind of came up with regarding Bigfoot, which is that, let me back this up. Let me go to Adventure Time for a second. Let's go to Adventure Time. I was rewatching it for a while. I did stop. This was one of the reasons why I stopped. As you know, Epstein and everything. Well, they love to just like put it in our faces what they were doing without actually like directly saying, "Hey, this is what we're doing." One of those things was in Adventure Time, which is so sad. I love that show. They were randomly exploring like icebergs and like, oh, what's in this iceberg? Yeah, so one guy Finn finds something really cool. What does Jake find? Oh, I just found this iceberg full of left baby shoes. Oh, hey, no, I caught that immediately. I was like, I've heard that before. I know what that is. Oh my gosh, I put two and two together. So here's what I think is happening. I think that a lot of the Bigfoot sightings or whatever, and a lot of them around places where people, specifically children, are going missing, I just think that's Epstein. I think that, the underground tunnels lore, which is true with Epstein, there's underground tunnels, that's just there to traffic children. I think that they dressed up as Bigfoot. Oh, we can blame it on this thing. We can blame it on this big cryptid Bigfoot, and our faces aren't involved, especially because it's happening in national parks. So, we can just disappear. We know the cave systems, because a lot of missing people around cave systems. Mm-hmm. We know all of this stuff. We could just dress up as Bigfoot and blame it on this big, scary, hairy creature. That's my theory on that, which is unfortunate. I wish it was just Bigfoot. Genuinely, that would have been so much better. But no, that's my thoughts on that.
Honestly, I probably would go a little bit step further with that. I don't know if it's directly related to Epstein, but kind of the people who do similar things, who are essentially wild men, that I think probably would look like Sasquatch if they're,
like the cannibalistic people in the woods.
Yeah.
Like you think one and the same.
A little bit. Like, I think it's just kind of a case of they may not be tied to organization-wise, but they might be tied to in terms of what they're doing it for and kind of who they're doing it for.
My only thing with that then is why the left baby shoe consistency, like in a show? Where is that coming from, and why did we choose to put that in there?
All right, future Isaiah, you're going to have to cut this out.
And we're back.
And we're back.
Look at that. Nothing happened.
Cabella, this is your time to shine. We've all been itching for this. Wait.
Sorry.
What?
Continue.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I think Kabella wants to save it, but I don't know. I was going to let you say
We
that.
should do it last.
We should do it last?
Genuinely. Okay. It's also really long. We should do it last.
And just be sure, it is the dragon one, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then the next theory after that would be the simulation theory.
Okay.
This theory kind of originated from the, kind of with The Matrix and when that movie came out or whatever, with the idea that, hey, maybe this isn't reality, that we are in like almost a Matrix in our own, into where like we're in a simulation and things like that. I think it's interesting. I don't think it's entirely possible. I think it's plausible, but I think the probability of it being true is kind of on the lower end. However, I think it's a very interesting one.
Yeah, there's enough evidence here and there that I go, maybe. Especially when you get into like where the Matrix script came from, which is a whole side rabbit hole you can go down. But yeah.
Yeah. All right. So then next, chemtrails.
Yeah. Classic.
Yeah, a very, very classic one. Kind of one that we've all heard. With the idea that those trails in the sky that are follow planes have like either a drug, pesticides, like all sorts of different things that kind of manipulate how people act, how people behave, that are controlling us in one way or another. It is interesting, and I feel like it's been almost confirmed and debunked at the same time in terms of the fact it's like, oh yeah, no, we are dropping stuff, but it's just pesticides.
Which
that doesn't give me any confidence
no.
in terms of anything.
See, I've actually heard this theory taken to a different thing, which is because a lot of people believe that the government can control the weather. That those chemtrails are also supposed to help them control the atmosphere and the weather by releasing certain chemicals or moisture into the air that will then stimulate a storm, for example. Be like, okay, storm time.
Which is, I mean, I don't think that's impossible. Especially like, how many movies and shows talk about like, oh, we just put stuff in the sky, like seeds or whatever, that kind of change the weather. Next one is another, I think, very famous one. It might be the most popular one outside of aliens, the Mandela effect.
Ah, yes. The Mandela effect.
This one is very interesting. Because, I mean, I guess in case no one does know, it's essentially the idea that things in the past, the way you remember them, aren't how they are in the present, right? It's like a very popular one, Kit Kat. Like, oh, there's a hyphen in Kit Kat. There's not. Oh, the Monopoly guy. Oh, he has a monocle. He does not. Oh, Pikachu has a black little thing on his tail. He does not.
Cornucopia.
Yeah, that's like the big one is the cornucopia.
The one, I think the main one, for me at least, that kind of makes it super weird, the cornucopia.
Yeah.
For Fruit of the Loom. I think we all grew up with that brand. It's, like a kid's clothing brand. That's whatever, right? We all remember there being a cornucopia. Now, of course, it could just be like, oh, because we associate, big old things of fruit with cornucopia. Not really. Not at that age, I would think. Because I didn't know what a cornucopia was until afterwards. And I remember thinking when I actually learned what a cornucopia was, I'm like, oh, like the thing from Fruit of the Loom.
Yep. Same thing here.
Never in recorded history has Fruit of the Loom had, has Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia in their logo.
Which is just bizarre because my memory says otherwise.
Right.
Yep. Well, lots of people.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part is that it's like one wacko. It's like everyone.
Everyone remembers this. Everyone knows it. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's the thing, too, to where some you can just kind of chalk off as like, okay, maybe your brain's just filled it in. Like Kit Kat, I think, is one of those to where it's like, it looks like it should have a hyphen, but it doesn't. And like, it's one of those things where I'm like, it's possible. Same with the Monopoly Man.
Yeah.
However, the Fruit of the Loom one, that one's weird.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
No. Especially because even though it does look wrong to not have it there, why would your brain fill in that object when it has no reference for what that object should be?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially when, like I said, like when most people looking at it are kids. No kid is going to be like, I know exactly what the cornucopia is.
Yeah.
It deserves to be there.
Yeah, no.
So it's weird. Even the namesake of the theory, the Nelson Mandela himself, everyone was like, oh yeah, no, he died. And then at some point in like 2014, it was like, oh no, he's out of jail.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Yeah, it's a very why it's called that, but yeah.
There's a bunch of bizarre things with it.
I can't say too much.
Like, how far into that do you want to go?
But all I will say is I think I have stumbled across the explanation, and all I will say is that anyone who's interested should go look further into Project Looking Glass. And there's where that will stop.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because the research that I did into it convinced me that is the reason for the Mandela effect.
You have to tell me after this one.
Yeah.
Next one. Now, this is, I think, another cryptid after Bigfoot and after Mothman. Skinwalkers.
Oh, yes.
These are very interesting.
Roll the clip editor of the dog,
me.
the famous one.
Oh, yeah. But Yeah, it's the idea that skinwalkers are essentially this creature that can... Do they have to kill before they... Either way, they can transform into anything living. Either human, animal, whatever. But you of course have the viral videos of dogs that are looking odd, or even the idea like, oh, my dog is outside right now, but he's here. Like, I know he's outside, I can hear him, but he's right here. What's going on? You of course have you of course have weird deer. You have like some video clips of like people looking weird or sounding weird. I think there's also the thing to where skinwalkers sound farther away the closer they are.
I hate that. I didn't know that. I hate that with everything in me. Are you kidding?
They like intentionally quiet themselves down to sound like they're really far away when they're right next to you. That's like the legend, supposedly.
Hey, no, you're never going to catch me alone in the woods at night. Nope. No.
My own personal beliefs, I think there's some merit to it because a lot of Native American cultures believe in them. They like just almost like swear by it of like, no, hey, is this and this is happening outside? Yeah, no. I will be inside with my shotgun.
Yep. Well, it goes even deeper than Native American culture because every human, it's one of our like primal fears that we're just born with is we have a fear of falling and we have a fear of things that are not quite as they seem, specifically when it comes to creatures and most specifically humans.
The Uncanny Valley.
The Uncanny Valley, yeah. And so it's like a literal primal thing that we are born into is that we're scared of something that isn't quite right. Where does that come from? Unless there could have been a race that was the skinwalker race that existed, or species rather, that existed at some point, and that's why we're so scared of that.
Would that not come from the Nephilim?
Most likely. I would imagine it would come from demons, and the Nephilim specifically would be things that don't quite aren't human.
They can't quite
I mentioned
mimic people.
Yeah. I've mentioned to you guys this before, but I do believe that skinwalkers, if it does exist, is, I think, a demonic entity. I don't think it's something that's just natural occurring. It is just something that is just straight up like a spiritual entity.
Yeah, no.
Well, yeah, because like when angels appear, they say do not be afraid because they are just a terrifying sight, not creepy. So I'm like, I don't think creepy things are coming from God. No.
Yeah, I agree. All right, the next one. Kabella, this is another one of yours. Radio waves are controlling us.
Yeah. Okay, actually, here's a little anecdote for you. When I was researching this, I had perfect fine phone signal. Okay, I was in a building that is known for not having phone signal, so I will just give it the qualification of this. But while I was researching radio waves, my phone lost signal, and I was no longer able to research this. And I was like, they're onto me. Yeah.
However, weren't you also able to text people?
No.
During that? No.
Well, yeah. I think I was still receiving texts from Gabe. It was weird. I had like the SOS at the top, but yeah, it was odd. It was just it was one of those, okay, I'm done. I don't actually want to get too far into this. I don't actually want to get too involved. I do value my life. No, but the radio waves is essentially, which I just saw this on TikTok randomly and was like, that's odd. What is that? So I looked into it a little bit. It does go really, really deep. I am not going to get into everything, mostly because I don't remember all the details of this. Maybe Gabe does. I feel like you probably know more about it. But the radio waves theory is essentially that there's like these radio waves that the government is putting out that is being transmitted to control your thoughts. So they can literally just like bloop thoughts into your head essentially with radio waves. Some evidence is like personal anecdotes. There's no like anything else to back this up. But the personal anecdotes are usually like, I knew I was going to get a text right before I got a text, which happened to you the other day, actually. And it's things like, oh, that the radio waves are going through your brain and you can actually hear the frequencies that are from the radio waves. And that's actually communicating to you. Do I think that the actual, and people are building, what is that room called?
It's like it starts with it's like a Rubicon chamber.
No. That's a car, a Rubicon.
Yeah, but it starts with an R, I think.
I don't know. Anyways, there's some sort of room that you can build that just blocks all the radio waves. Nikola Tesla invented it. And basically you could go in there and people are trying to build these rooms and they're going in and they're trying to block all the radio waves and see how they think. And they're like, I'm in this room and I'm remembering things that I completely forgot about before. And I'm like, and then I left the room and all of a sudden I just had this insane urge to just go watch porn. And you're like, hey, I think that this is placebo. I genuinely, I think that is entirely placebo.
Yep.
You made that up. However, here's what I would say. There is a little bit of credit to this. I think that this can actually happen. Is that there's the light side of this that is just kind of like, that's like the crazy actual literal like Bluetooth airdropping thoughts to your head. This one is they can make you feel things. So they can make you feel upset. They can make you feel like you want to go watch porn. They can make you feel all this like things like that. That one I would say probably has a little bit more credibility to it. I could get behind, yeah, they might be doing that for population control, which starts with, of course, MK Ultra. And that goes back to the Russians and their microwave thing, which is Project Pandora. You get into this whole big old thing that I started getting into. Again, I don't remember all the details of it, so I don't want to share it with I think this is what happened.
Yeah.
But essentially, basic boil down, the Russians were aiming a microwave thing at, I think, like the U.S. Embassy in some country. I don't even remember. And they were like, well, why are they doing that? What's going on? Is it mind control thing? Sparked Project Pandora.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, which is mind control research. Which they're like, no, I just want to know what the Russians are doing. No. This is just to know what the Russians were doing
we're just trying to figure this out. Yeah.
No, not because we want to use this at all. And that was such a good idea. And then you have like the weird Havana effect. Mm-hmm. Which is also...
The Havana effect?
Yeah, so the Havana effect is like a lot of U.S. people, ambassadors, especially intelligence officers, just described random, all at the same time, like illness symptoms. Like they were just no one else around, nobody else, just the U.S. people, all of a sudden had these odd, like, just symptoms of odd illness, and a lot of them have been dismissed. They've been told that that's not real, that's not true. It is some of them have had lifelong issues after that, which is odd. And again, that would go back to the microwave signals, and they can make you get sick, and they can make your mind feeble, and it's a lot.
Yeah,
it is, especially when you get into stories like that. Yes. I kind of bring my mind to Project Bluebeam, which we'll get to in a bit. But yeah.
So the thing that I've always pushed back on that theory with, especially with the heavy version of they're putting thoughts in your brain, is every single person's neural activity is different. So, for example, when you hit me, the actual neurons that fired in my brain to let me know that I just got hit are different than if I would have hit you. So therefore...
It also would have been demonetized.
Yeah, but so therefore, if they were going to try to put a thought in your brain, they would have to map out every single individual person's individual brain patterns. Mm-hmm. And then those brain patterns can change as you grow. So they would have to constantly be updating millions of brain pattern scans for technology that we don't have that exist, allegedly. So I'm going, all of that to say, I don't think they can put thoughts in your head, but we do know that, for example, if you play sound that is lower than the human ear can hear, it does make you feel uncomfortable because your body can feel the vibration, but it can't hear it.
Yeah.
So it is possible that they are sending out waves that are slightly making you feel certain ways, but it's a very like physical reaction feeling to the waves, not a... they can't actually implement a thought. It's just too much. If they were going to do that, they would have to do it to one specific person that they've tested on for years to discover their specific brain patterns, not the broad population. It just can't happen. It's just too much. Literally, we don't have the computing power in the world to do that. Yeah.
It is an interesting one.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. No, it is. That's a pretty deep dive. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Now, one of my favorites, the Twitter voicemail. This one is interesting because I did look into it just a little bit more. I wasn't able to actually get super far into research, unfortunately. But the story behind this is that one day, some random Twitter user just goes, on Twitter, it posts essentially a voicemail that he got. And it's like, hey guys, this is super weird. And it's a voicemail that's just, speaking in like the phonetic alphabet. That's just like Sierra, Omega, Sierra, Delta, like saying words like that. And if, the phonetic alphabet essentially just taking the first word of each of those words to spell out the code that it's trying to give you. And it was basically saying something along the lines of SOS, danger, SOS, they are not human, send help, that type of thing. I think it even gave some coordinates as well, or essentially list the numbers. You list the numbers out. If you write them out, they give coordinates. Now, that Twitter user, I think shortly after, got a DM that was in poorly translated Indonesian because Indonesians looked at it and were like, this is not how we talk. This is clearly used by using Google Translate. That basically said, take it down. It was like, stop looking into it, take it down, whatever, right? Now, that could either one, be like, oh, it's fake because they use Google Translate, or two, someone else is behind this.
Quickly trying to cover it up. Yeah.
However, there was another Twitter user, I forget their name, unfortunately, that was doing research into it, that looked at the coordinates, found that it was the last known location of Malaysia Flight 370.
Oh.
That it, I think they were trying to find some more stuff, like found like flight patterns and just weird things that were happening with Malaysian Flight 370, which that alone is a weird event. And I don't fully believe the official story behind it.
Yeah, well, you get in the prevalent theory that I've heard of why the two are connected is because a lot of times in upper atmosphere, because there's less oxygen, radio waves can actually be captured and stored temporarily. So that voicemail could have been sitting up there in the atmosphere for however long, and then just happened to come down right then to that guy's phone.
Yeah.
And that's why that's what I've heard, because the timing of them is like not, it would be weird if it was a direct connection, but it would make a lot of sense if it was stored temporarily for him to receive that.
And it didn't sound like a black box record, which is, I think, was like a common explanation, like, oh, it's a black box recording. And then, of course, that's how it gets debunked of like,
yeah, it
can't like send a black box recording, but it's not. I think we either have the black box recording or a recording. And yeah, it's just two guys talking.
Yep.
Like, oh, good night or whatever, like kind of just saying goodbye. There's apparently a weird noise you can hear in the last thing, like at the very end of the recording. Mm-hmm. It's where it sounds almost like a weird squeaking, like almost like someone making a noise. So who knows what's up with that? It's super weird, and it never really got solved. The person who was investigating deleted all the posts and were like, "It's a joke, guys. Don't worry, it's not serious." Yeah, and it kind of just stopped there. No one else really looked into it. I think there was like some interviews with the guy that originally posted it, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't really want fame or anything. I definitely wouldn't fake this. Like, this was just weird." And the fact he wasn't the one looking into it as well, making all the connections, I think also lends to that.
Yeah.
But it's a really weird thing that never really got any closure. So, yeah. The next one is Bigfoot. But I know, Kabella, you already kind of spoke on it. Do you have any other comments on it? Or
not really. That was it. I mean, my Nana would just talk about like, this is what they're like. And yeah, we're counting stories of random like kind of Bigfoot, which is just odd. I don't know.
So the next one is a another pretty common one. There's quite a few common ones in here. My red is not your red.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
This one's kind of like a fun little like thought experiment.
It's a good little like lighthearted one after.
Yeah, right. Time to talk about something fun again. This is just the idea that everything like Zai's hat is red, right? Mm-hmm. But how do you know that the red I'm seeing is the same one that you're seeing?
Yeah.
Or that you're seeing.
Yep.
Or that you're seeing. It's a whole different thing of where what Gabe is seeing here as Zai's hat could be blue to him. It could be pink to you in terms of what it actually is to me.
Yeah.
So it's just this whole idea that the colors that we're seeing are not the same, but because we're taught, oh, this is red, this is blue, this is green, whatever. It kind of gets implemented into our minds of this color's that.
Yeah, and it gets really weird then when you get into stuff like my favorite color being magenta, which is in the light spectrum doesn't exist. It's when blue and pink light meet perfectly to create that color, which means that every single receptor based on the amount of rods and cones in your eyes will receive that blue and pink signal differently. So you get into really weird territory there where it's like, yeah, that color just actually doesn't exist technically, like in the light spectrum.
Which that's pretty.
I guess my only pushback with this, and I mean, I'm sure there's some explanation, is that these colors still psychologically affect us the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that like suggest that there's some sort of consistency?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that because the vast majority of our eyes are similar, it would be shades. You might see a slightly different shade of red.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be it.
Yeah. No, I agree. No, it's just a case of like, I had something, I forgot it. But it's a case of like, just things are going to, affect you differently or just going to look differently. And not only that, but when you have like fashion designers,
Yeah.
right? I feel like that innate, like, oh, that looks good, that looks cool, is something that is innate and isn't really taught. So it's a case of like, when you have colors that aren't supposedly matching, I feel like you would see that if only one person or like some people are like, oh, that looks really cool, and everyone else is like, that sucks. Why'd you do that?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that. The next one, Gabe, the bloop.
Can I switch the bloop to go right in front of her Leviathan by any chance?
Sure.
Okay. I will if it's okay, I can talk about a different one instead.
No, yeah.
Okay.
The next one would be Hollow Earth.
Hollow Earth. All right, that's another one of mine. Okay, so Hollow Earth is a theory that's basically, obviously, it's what it is. It says the Earth is hollow, and that there are civilizations living under us. And the theory of that goes back to a lot of text. There's, for example, like Norwegian mythology and Norse mythology. Is we have the dwarves that live in the Earth. In like the Bible, it's like the fountains of the deep open up and like the demons come out of it, stuff like that. It's just there's this indication that potentially there's something under us. The earth opens, stuff happens. There's just weird mentality, and then you get weird cases like, for example, in World War II, Hitler was trying to find Hollow Earth, like explicitly trying to find it. He sent a team to do research down in Antarctica. A guy by the name of Admiral Birdie goes down. I think that's
Admiral Byrd.
Bird is okay. He goes down there and he scouts out what their camp is. He like takes it over basically, and then is told to, on pain of death, not ever speak about what he found, and was given a Medal of Honor. He basically did nothing but go to a science research lab and was given a Medal of Honor. That's weird. He also was not allowed to talk about it. Also, no government is allowed to work into Antarctica except for science reasons. Nobody's allowed to be there. Weird. And especially because the Nazis were there explicitly for Hollow Earth. And then that leads into a whole bunch of other stuff of like, there's also cases where people are like drilling in the middle of a desert for oil, and then a squid will pop out of the oil. And you're like, how? A squid can't live in oil. Also, we're in the middle of the desert. We're not even connected to an ocean. How did this get here? And it's believed that those pockets of oil potentially are connecting to that underground civilization, and that underground civilization has different creatures and different species, and that, more or less, if you were to drill a certain distance down, the whole earth is hollow. And that's where we get ideas of, for example, Bigfoot. That's where all those cryptid monsters live, is in that hollow earth. And they come up through tunnels that connect to cave systems from that land.
So you're going to hate me right now? Well, that connects to my Leviathan theory. Except my Leviathan theory kind of debunks that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I personally find it interesting, but I don't actually believe it. It's the oil pit squids are a little weird. Those are one that I go, that's a little odd. But for the most part, I don't believe that there's anything below us. I think the most you would find is if there's some deep, deep, deep cavern where somehow like a species of animals got trapped down there and managed to survive. Yeah. But that's not like Hollow Earth. That's just a deep, deep, deep cavern. Yeah. I think that's the best you've got for that case. I think the deeper you go, the more solid it gets until eventually there's nothing.
My view on it, I'm also kind of in the same boat. Like, it's not one I believe, but I am kind of a little bit more like 80-20 on it. The 20 being like, if it comes out somehow, some way that it is real, the Hollow Earth does exist, I wouldn't be like, what? It's like, that's impossible. It would just be like okay. I guess that would explain some things. There's one that I was kind of thinking about it when you started talking about it. There was a case where I think it was the Germans. I don't think it was the Nazis. I think it was just Germany. Found this like super deep pit, or I think they dug super far, that type of thing, like farther than anyone else has went. Put a mic down there, and all you can hear is just screaming.
Yes. which, yeah, there's places in the Middle East where they've been drilling and they say that they found the gates of hell because there's a big theory that the core of the earth is hell.
Which I think would be interesting if we get into Bible theory and things like that.
That'll be interesting when we get to my Leviathan theory. I have been teasing them for like a week on this theory because I've been working on it for a really long time, and they're all like ready to hear it. Yeah, which is why it's the last one we're doing.
Yep.
I want to talk about Project Bluebeam, so I'm gonna hold that until before your guys' theories.
Yeah.
The next one would be Tulpas. Gabe, this is another one of yours.
Yeah. So tulpas are the idea that imaginary friends can become reality if we think about them enough. So especially with kids, is if they have an imaginary friend as a kid, it's cute and fun. But if they continue to have that imaginary friend, it's suddenly, it's not healthy for mental illness sake, obviously. But it's this theory that if they really believe it hard enough for long enough, that imaginary friend will either become real or a spirit will then come and inhabit that imaginary friend and make it real, which goes into a different theory that I have. That's more or less just tulpas as a whole, but that segues into a different theory that I think that specifically demonic forces feed off of our fear. So if you have a kid who is feeling really bad, is scared of having friends, for whatever reason turns to an imaginary friend, over time, I think a demon can eventually live in that imaginary friend in that sense, feeding off of that child's insecurities and fear of that's because they have to. If a child has a ton of social support, they're not going to have an imaginary friend. That's just true. So whatever is causing them to not have friends to create an imaginary friend will, I think, kind of a spirit can easily inhabit that land, which will then make it real, which is then when you start getting all of those creepy things of like, yeah, Bobby told me to kill the cat. And you're like, oh no. Oh dear, stuff like that.
Yeah.
As I think that's where that leads. And I also think that goes into, I think a lot of spirits and demons try to target children more than adults because children are more vulnerable and therefore more likely to be afraid.
And also the whole thing of innocence as well.
Yes.
That you have the whole thing of God being like, children are mine, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Of the idea of that.
They're directly attacking that, yeah.
What?
I was just saying get closer to the mic.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Where you have the whole thing of children being innocent as a whole, and I can see that just being just more valuable, especially when you come to satanic stuff of like, oh yeah, a child's innocence will tend to be more, kind of eager to corrupt. That's the best way to say it. Anyway, these next two are yours, Gabe.
Okay, cool.
So LA oil rigs.
Yeah, so this one's just true, but it's just kind of a fun, lighthearted one. There's a bunch of, because LA has a bunch of oil under it, they want to extract that, but obviously it's a city, so you can't. So there's a bunch of buildings in LA, and this is just, again, it's just true, that they're just fake buildings. They look like office buildings, but if you were to go inside of them, it's an oil rig.
Oh, that's kind of funny.
Like they're pumping oil.
Why can't we just do that in the open though?
It's
just because it's ugly?
Well, ugly, and originally it was supposed to be secret because of health codes. Now they're able to like maintain health codes and it doesn't really matter as much, but they're still there already. So they're just, why tear it down? But yeah, there's a bunch of buildings apparently throughout LA that, yeah, they look like office buildings. They even have like store names and stuff. And if you walk into it, it's just a giant oil rig.
Huh.
Wait, this isn't a Walmart?
Yeah, more or less, basically. And it's just like, yep, that's
funny. Huh.
And again, it's just been confirmed to be true. It's just one of those like, okay, they're drilling for oil in LA. Cool.
Oh, that is a nice lighthearted one.
Yeah.
Anyway, not so lighthearted one. Rocco's Basilisk.
Rocco's Basilisk, yes. So essentially it starts as a thought experiment of if in the future there was an AI that would one day control everything, all of humanity, this super AI, and that because it controlled all of humanity would eventually develop time travel. Therefore, that AI would then search through time and go, anyone who does not support my creation, I will eliminate from the timeline because they're not supporting it. But then you get into this thought process of now that you're aware of the basilisk, if you don't know about it, you're safe because obviously you didn't know about it. Your actions are just that. But if you're aware of the basilisk, now you have to conscientiously choose, do I create it or do I not? If you choose to then pursue its creation and support it, you will be able to live. But if out of fear you choose to create it, you might end up creating this AI that will do this when if you had just not been afraid, it would never have existed. But can you take that risk? Because what if someone else creates it and then you get eliminated because someone else does it? So it's this thought experiment where I actually deviate is going back to that project, not to go too deep into it with Project Looking Glass. I wonder if the reason we have certain evil people that continuously live is that there is a future goal that they were working towards, which, again, not to get too far into Looking Glass, but there's a future goal that they were working towards that basically they were keeping the right people alive to complete that goal. And then that's why we have these evil people that just keep on living when, like, it's the sad truth of a lot of good people end up dying and a lot of evil people continue to live. And I was like, I wonder if it's the people who are controlling, if they have some way of foreknowing what's going to happen, that through Project Looking Glass, that they're able to basically keep the bad people alive to make sure that thing happens for them. And therefore they eliminate good people who won't support that ideal, to stop them from doing what they want. Essentially it's a way of control. Where I deviate is obviously it's a thought experiment. Obviously I don't think it's fully true. I don't think it's AI. If it was anything, it would be, I think, Satan doing that. I don't think it would be a big spooky AI, but it is just an interesting theory / thought experiment to go out there, especially when you start connecting it to real world scientific stuff that was conducted, like Looking Glass, because yeah.
Yeah. So that's that one. Very fun.
Yep. Everyone who listens to this now, you got to conscientiously choose. Do you like AI or not?
The tone
you woke us up, man.
Yeah.
That's your fault, man.
Yep.
No.
All of you are now destined to face the basilisk.
The tone of this podcast is taking a very sharp,
I know.
very sharp turn.
We're all doomed.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, so Project Bluebeam. This is one that, who knows? Maybe in the future I will talk about more in terms of my overall theory regarding Project Bluebeam, because I think it is a very scary thought, and I think as time goes on, it almost gets proven more and more plausible. What Project Bluebeam is essentially this hypothetical scenario, or even like, I think it's some Canadian dude came out with a theory.
Yes.
That, a one world government, a secret cabal that involved multiple nations, people who want to be in control, are going to one day essentially perform the rapture, quote unquote, the second coming of Christ. However, if you look at the three major religions across the world, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, with Christianity, you have the rapture, especially pre-trib rapture. With Judaism, you have the coming of the Messiah. And then with Islam, you have, I think, the coming of Allah. Mm-hmm. Project Bluebeam is essentially what that is going to do, essentially going to convince those three religious groups, or at least try to, and of course other people, that, hey, these religious figures are coming, and they're going to enact a leader or a group that will essentially lead these people into the future. It's an overall idea that like they'll essentially install that way a one world order, or new world order, whatever, and put the Antichrist into power, like all these different things. Another thing that I've heard recently about it is that they will also, kind of going back to the radio waves thing, they will enact a certain frequency or something to make it sound like God is talking to you. It's not this booming voice, but something inside your own head. And it's essentially to, like, if there is a secret cabal, a secret society, Illuminati, that is running everything and getting to a goal, this is the goal. This is the last play. That's the end game right there. Yep. So it is kind of an idea of like that. If that does exist, that is kind of a very frightening thought, especially when you get to certain things regarding a certain someone and certain actions in a certain country. Yep. It's a case of like, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely something I can totally see happening with the various governments across the world and the various like world leaders is a fake religious movement. Totally, yeah, I can see it.
Especially when you get into that one guy who predicted the next world wars. Like he predicted it pretty close to World War I, so World War I wouldn't have been like too off. But World War II is kind of like, okay. Like, yeah, that is almost a logical conclusion based on what he's just suggested about World War I, but that's still farther out there. Then you get to World War III, which is like, it's going to be between, Israel and the Middle East. And it's going to cause the destruction of both those religions.
And then you have El Paso that recently just happened. We were just talking about last night, actually, saying like there's a few theories because nothing happened. Nothing happened. They were like, no, this is a no-fly zone. Theoretically, they were going to enact Project Bluebeam, but then nothing happened. It was just a no-fly zone for nothing. And so we were talking about like maybe it was that, okay, enough people caught on to what we were doing. We're just not going to do it.
Yep.
But I also think, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Lord's going to go, yeah, hey, no, we're just not going to do this one.
Yeah.
You don't get to do that.
Yeah, I think, especially with some other stuff, I think God would not allow a false Messiah like that because we know about the Antichrist, but I don't think a false Antichrist can rise. Yeah. Like an artificially created one. So I think he's just every time it's going to happen, a little digit gets missed in the code. Something doesn't work right. Oh, well, we can't do it. Someone gets sick the word day of. Oh, well, we can't do it. Just stuff like that. They'll just constantly be moving pieces to prevent it.
Essentially. Anyway, I think, what was the one that was before? The bloop.
So, real quick, I'm going to do Deltova's Pass because that was another one I was supposed to do.
Oh, yeah. Put that in
there? And then I'll do the bloop, and that'll the queue up you. So,
Leviathan.
Yeah, for Deltova's Pass, I'm going to regale you guys with a little tale, all right? So, it is February 1959, okay? A group of 10 Russians who are experienced hikers go out on to a hike. They are supposed to arrive around February 12th from their hike, but because there is delays during this time, it's February and it's in Russia and it's on a mountain, no crew was sent out until the 20th because they didn't show up on the 12th. So it's been a while since they disappeared. Additionally, when they were found, their journals stopped at February 1st and 2nd is the last, the recorded time. So we know whatever happened to them happened on the 1st and 2nd. Not exactly sure what it was, but we can trace it to those dates. But that means that their bodies, I'll just preemptively say, their bodies were not found for almost 2 weeks after the incident happened. So it's a lot of time for the bodies to decay, anything to happen. We don't really know quite sure of what's going on. I'm going to describe the injuries that some of these bodies sustained. Again, these are experienced hikers. I'm going to keep saying that. 3 of them were severely damaged. 1 of them had a crushed skull. 2 of them had crushed chest. The ones that had crushed chest, the forensic scientist said that the only way to produce that result was to be hit by a car directly, which that's a lot of force. That's not you got punched really hard, I
don't know. I could feel like I could punch like a Ford Mustang.
Yeah.
Probably be a lot easier for a Prius, but go ahead.
Two of the bodies were missing eyes. One of the bodies was missing their tongue, and one of them was missing eyebrows.
That's so random.
Yeah.
Eyebrows.
Yeah. It's just random stuff. Additionally, they were all in various states of undress. Like they were all basically only in their underwear, excluding one who had a different person's burned trousers, is according to the report, and a torn jacket wrapped around their foot. Everyone else was basically more or less in their underwear, though.
That's so odd.
Right?
Someone else's.
Yeah. Then you get into the fact that when their tents were found, the first set of bodies were found about 200 to 300 meters away. The next set of bodies wasn't even found until a month later. And they were like down to the river that was like 500 meters away. So they were quite far from their campsite. Their campsite had been completely destroyed. It looked like the tents had been slashed open from the inside. Everything was scattered around. All of their clothes, including their shoes, were left in their tents. Meaning, when they left in a hurry, and a lot of them were forcibly like dragging themselves out of it. Again, what's weird is there's 10 of them. The footprints that they found when they went to search for them, there was only 9 sets of footprints, which again, 10 of them left. They found all 10 bodies away from the campsite, only 9 sets of tracks. Could be the one of them was holding another one.
Yeah.
But again, it's just all of these weird details lead up to it. So the theories that are proposed are an avalanche was what killed them. Problem is, there were other hikers on that mountain. There was no avalanche. There was no signs of an avalanche. The weather wasn't right for having an avalanche. So that can't be it.
Because that was the one that actually that I believed for a while.
Yes. And, what's really weird is The movie Frozen had to use computer generation to generate the snow in that movie, and then the developers of that computer program then ran a simulation of this event and went, look, it was an avalanche, guys. And I go, why are
that makes no sense.
don't-
Why are you getting involved? And how are you? Yeah,
What does
connected
Lady
to
Gaga
this?
know about cameras?
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just
that's so random. Okay.
But I should note that again, being experienced hikers, one of these experienced hikers had gotten shot on a previous hike and walked 50 miles after that, completing the hike before getting medical attention. These are tough people.
Yeah.
Not your average run-of-the-mill person. So
this isn't your like frat house and their girlfriends going. For,
Yeah.
yeah, these are experienced hikers. And so if an avalanche were to happen, they would know what to do. They would know not to leave their campsite without clothes. Why would they leave into the freezing cold without clothes? That just doesn't make sense. Again, whole thing is it's just a weird. Apparently, in February at the same time, several hikers on that mountain also reported strange orbs being seen in the sky. So a lot of people went into aliens, ghost, that sort of thing. However, those orbs were later explained to be chemical tests that were being done by the Russian government secretly on that mountain. That the orbs were explained. So then people went, well, if there was a chemical military test, maybe they got hit with a chemical ray and went insane and all ran off into the woods. Still doesn't explain the missing eyes, the tongue, all
Eyebrows,
of that.
yeah.
Yeah, it just
getting hit by a car.
well,
Yeah.
What's really weird is the first set of bodies that were found were around a tree, and that tree had a bunch of broken branches, which means they climbed up to get a view of where they were, to then climb back down, or fell back down is what more likely based on like the branches being broken. But again, you go, so they were clearly somewhat conscious. So if they were all crazed, no, they wouldn't climb a tree to see where they were.
Yeah.
Again, that doesn't make sense. Another theory that was posited was a Yeti attack, was a Sasquatch.
Of course, yeah.
Because again, they're running away from this thing. Their camp is torn apart, that sort of thing. It would make enough sense, especially with the ones that have like severe damage to their chest and head. They got hit with a giant creature. Now, this is where I cannot believe it is annoying to me that this theory has never been proposed, but I'm like, it's so obvious. A couple years prior to this, we're going to go to the Philippines real quick. A couple years prior to this, the CIA staged a vampire attack to a local town by inserting 2 metal rods into their neck and draining them of blood and then leaving their corpses so that it looked like a monster attack in order to frighten people. This is a confirmed thing the CIA did only a couple years before this event. We know, I have not, okay, actually, so this entire time, just to make it like a spicy tale, I have not actually told you who these people are, which I'm now going to. So, the first person, the one who put together this trip, his name was Igor. He was the top of a class radio student at the top school who was working with the Russian military for new technologies and radio stuff. The second person, another engineering student, worked at a nuclear plant in a redacted town. The third one, another engineer. Fourth one, another engineer. These people just don't have much to say about them. One of them was in economics. Then we get to another one was a nuclear physicist who worked, guess what, redacted town. Another one on the trip, nuclear physicist who worked at a redacted base in Moscow. Another one was a World War II veteran, and then 2 other just normal engineer people. They were all from an engineering school. That's all how they knew each other. Yeah. They've all been on hikes before. One of them had been shot. One of them was a World War II veteran. All of this. And I go, you know what's interesting is we have confirmation the Russian military was doing secret tests on that mountain. You know who was 100% there and we know will stage attacks as if it was a monster? The CIA. 100% what I think it was is that the CIA were there investigating what the Russian military was up to, and these people just happened to go on a hike, and the CIA saw them and went, hey, there's some high-value nuclear physicist targets in that group. Let's just kill them. Stage it as an attack. And they had, again, their bodies were not found until almost over 2 weeks after their last journal entry. So that means they would have had 2 whole.
Sorry, the vacuum in the background is killing us.
Scared the crap out of all of us.
Yeah, the
freaking maintenance, dude.
The CIA would have had over 2 weeks to do whatever they wanted to the bodies before they were found.
Yeah.
And again,
because they probably just killed them and then went back and made weird
crushed their chest, doing
they just
stuff.
ripped this guy's eyebrows off.
Yeah, just weird stuff like that to
That
make
darn Yeti.
Yeah, to make it look like, because again, we know they do stuff like that. That's just what they do. So
Yeah.
I'm going 100%. I think they were there spying, and they just happened. Unfortunately, this group went into the wrong place at the wrong time, and a bunch of people went, "Hey, there's some high value targets. We could just take them out real quick."
And that vampire thing isn't the only like weird stuff the CIA has done. You
Yes.
have Operation Northwoods. I'm not going to go. I would suggest looking it up because it's a little bit too real.
Yeah.
Of the case of it is an odd thing the CIA planned. They never did, but it's still a case of like
they
that's
just planned it. Yeah.
It's a weird, really weird plan. At least allegedly, they never did.
Yep.
But yeah. Anyway, now
The bloop.
the bloop.
Okay, so the bloop was recorded over a 5,000 mile area, and it was this sound that when you account for the fact that sound slows down and sounds distorted underwater, when you speed it back up to what it should sound like, it literally goes bloop. Like that's what it sounds
No
like.
way.
Yeah. And it's this huge, massive sound, and in order for a beast to, a lot of people were like, "That's clearly an animal noise. That's not. That's not just a random." What the scientists said was it was an ice quake of the ice shifting and breaking. And,
Where was this?
Near Antarctica.
Oh, well, of course.
Yeah.
Well, Kim, I think from what you told me at least, the scientists said it after, like way after
way
this
later.
happened.
They're like, "Oh, it was obviously an ice quake, guys."
Like those.
Yeah, and but then again, you speed it up to account for the fact that it's underwater, and it's bloop.
Like that high pitch too?
Yeah, it's pretty high pitched, and you're just like, I don't, especially when you're like, because again, that's speeding it up and stuff. So when you actually listen to it, it sounds like a very deep like a very deep breath almost is what, like a breath and then a water popping essentially, right? And so a lot of people are like, okay, this is clearly an animal that's creating this this sound. What could this animal be? Because it's a 5,000 mile radius that it was detected by 3 different microphones in that 5,000 mile radius. So that means this beast has to have like a size, like the vocal cords would have to be like, I think it was like 30 or 40 times bigger than the biggest creature that we currently know of. And that just leads me into the bloop specifically. We don't know what it is. There is no more evidence. Like there's no more information to get off of it other than just there was a sound. We don't know what it came from. It's clearly an animal if you listen to it, or some type of creature. It's not an ice quake, but that's all we have. That leads me into a whole bunch of other stuff. For example, they tagged a great white shark, and within I think it was like 15 seconds, the body temperature of the great white shark skyrocketed, and it dove 1,500 feet deeper than a great white shark can go. Stuff like that. You just go unexplainable. How did that happen? How did that tracker do that? And all of that to lead into, we don't know hardly anything about the ocean. And we keep just, it's an ice quake. It's fine. Which I think Kabella has the ultimate theory on the ocean.
I do.
The Leviathan theory.
I am so
Here
excited.
we
Okay, so
go.
I've been building this. So I will say, I don't think I'm the first person to think of this. There is 2 halves to this theory. There is the literal physical evidence for my theory, and then there is the theological evidence for my theory, which is what convinced me at the end of the day. It was last night. Gabe and I had been hanging out forever. He left, and I was like, I feel like I could look into this just a little bit more. So I went ahead and looked into the theological side and went, oh, I actually believe this. Oh, this is actually, I can back this up. This is crazy. Mm-hmm. And I've been researching this for like a long time, guys. And I've been just compiling my evidence, putting this together. But again, I actually looked up at the end of it, the 1-sentence version of my theory. And I am not the first person to think of it. If you look it up, it just says, yes, this is correct. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. I mean, it's AI overview, so it's like pulling from things, but it was crazy. Anyways, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to like spoon feed you this theory. Okay. I'm going to give you pieces. The first part of it is that I'm like, oh, I'm so excited. Under the ocean floor is the Leviathan, but it's not that it's under the ocean floor. It's kind of that it is the ocean floor, which I'll explain. I'm going to show you. The Leviathan has 7 heads. There is not evidence for this within the Bible itself. You can look at Revelation. There's a 7-headed beast that comes out of the ocean. That is not the Leviathan. Let me be very clear. Some people believe that is. They are incorrect. I don't think so. That is it. That is the beast. That is a whole separate issue. Okay. The Leviathan, though, I do believe is a 7-headed creature, which we will get into the symbolism behind that. There's a lot of symbolism in this. But I think it is a 7-headed beast. So I have provided pictures for us so that we get to see what I'm talking about, because I do believe you can see the 7 heads in the ocean. So I found them. I searched for, I kid you not, hours on Google Maps
to find that.
to find these. Some of them are really obvious. Some of them are not so obvious. Okay, so here's the first guy, which, by the way, this all started because I saw a TikTok video of a guy that was like, there's dragons under the ocean. And I was like, haha, wouldn't it be funny if that was real? And then it was real. And I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. So here's the first guy. Now, this one is like the most obvious, which, by the way, Gabe the other day mentioned sandwiches. And I was like, that relates to my theory. Yeah, because this is the South Sandwich.
Of course. She'll do that. She'll be like, oh, guess what? This random topic that relates to my theory.
Oh, Dairy Queen.
It's the South Sandwich Islands.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is very obviously like a serpent head.
Yeah.
And I will note, and we need to keep this in the back of our minds, that is the top of the serpent head. That's important. You need to remember that is the top of the head. Okay. Yep. So that's 1. There's 7, guys. Here's 2. This is around like Puerto Rico area. Up here, by the way, is the Bermuda Triangle. So that's
right off there. Yeah.
Yep. But here you see this one right here. That's a serpent head. So these are like the obvious ones. We are going to get into some that even I go, I don't know about that. Which is this one. So this right here is Iceland. Yeah, so this right here is Iceland, and I see this head right here. Now this one, if somebody goes, no. Yeah, so if somebody was like, yeah, this isn't actually a serpent head, I could believe you. I searched for a really long time and couldn't find anything else. So this one, I'm okay with being like, no. Okay, and then we get into this one. This is another one that I go, I'm okay. Like, maybe not. This is the Arabian Sea, and it is right in here. Is this head right here?
I see. Yeah.
All of these so far, again, let's note that is the top of the head.
Yep.
That's important. Okay. This one is not the top of the head. Also important. This is the Philippine Sea. This one actually kind of goes this way on the map, and it is right here. There's a big serpent head. This one is probably my favorite. It has the most to it, the most information to this one. This right here, I think, is a tail.
Oh, okay.
Or a jaw. It is either a tail or a jaw. And I would like to note that in here is the Mariana Trench. Yeah, I cannot connect that yet. I do not yet know. Maybe we could figure that out today. But I do not yet know how to connect that to this right here. But this is definitely one of those serpent heads. I mean, it's so clear. This was my favorite. It has a lot to it. Okay, then we have this one here, which is just south of that. And it's right here. You could theoretically say maybe that's the neck. I think it goes up this way. So there's this head right here, and then it comes up that way. Okay, next one. This is Indonesia. These are all super close together. It's right here.
Yep.
Big ol' head. Okay. Now, I zoomed out for us so we could kind of just get a better picture. There's that one. Here's that one. Here's this one right here on the map. Okay? Now, let me ask you this. What do you think all of these have in common?
They all belong to the same creature.
Yes, they do. Yeah. I would say yes. They are all the same, like heads of the same creature, yes. Methane gas.
Okay.
All of these places in the ocean have significant amounts of methane gas under the surface. Do you know what that comes from?
Dead bodies.
Yes. But specifically, really ancient, old, decaying bodies under the ocean, because they were trying to attribute it to like old dead krill. And I was like, well, I actually don't think so. I don't think so. I think that this is a dead Leviathan that is providing all of this really old methane gas. Yeah. That was one of those where I went, I was goofing around at this point.
And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of an odd coincidence that all of these areas have methane gas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So then we get into some more. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this guy right here, again, this is Iceland. Here's my slight. I changed this later on. Okay. But like if we're on the journey of me researching this, this guy right here, that one that I was like, I don't know, actually can connect to here. And what is here, you may ask? What is that? Oh, the Ring of Fire. Oh, the Ring of Fire. They all connect to the Ring of Fire. So you have this guy down here. All of this, by the way, all these dots on here, seismic activity, volcanoes. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So you have this guy down here. It comes up through here. Up in there is the Puerto Rico one. And then you come up. There's that guy up here that would connect into this. And it comes up. And then you have all of these over here that all connect. The only one that I would say, maybe not, would be the Arabian Sea. Okay, that one in the Arabian Sea, not. I can't say that really connects
to the rest of them. Yeah,
in the same way. But I will actually get into that in a little bit.
Okay,
we will. I do have an explanation for that one. Anyways, so the Bible describes the Leviathan as a fire-breathing serpent. Fire-breathing. Lots. I have the scriptures here. I will get into them a little bit later. And so I don't know. It's a little. Let's just note that coincidence that fire-breathing serpent is really connected to the Ring of Fire.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Here's my other kind of like more detailed evidence. So this, if we I'm going to read a little bit of this right here. This is totally a screenshot from a random article that I don't have a reference for, so sorry. Hashtag plagiarism. We started the new week on Monday, 29th of April, with a long dive to sample smoking chimneys and vent animals in the known hydrothermal field of the segment E2 South. Now, what is E2 South? Also, by the way, that looks like a tooth. That looks like a tooth.
Kind of, yeah.
Straight up, that looks like a tooth. Okay? And this is supposed to be the vent that they're exploring, which would be volcanic. Yeah, what is the E2? Yeah, what is that? Okay, let me show you. Yeah, so on the Scotia plate, they have these little things right here labeled. So E2 South is this little thing right here, south, which is a tooth. Now, that seems a little bit inward, I would say, right? Yeah, so the Bible describes the Leviathan as having like rows, like circles of teeth. So it would make sense that there would be a tooth here.
Oh, yeah, because these first ones would be the first teeth, and then that would be the second, like, circle.
Well, actually, I don't think these are teeth.
Okay,
I think that's just the tip of his nose.
Okay, fair enough.
Which I do have pictures of. Hey, look at this. I went deep onto this one. The other ones don't have as much like this. Okay, but look, that would be the nose sticking out. That's an active volcano in these South Sandwich Islands, and that could look like a nose sticking, like part of a nose sticking out of the ocean. Same with this. Same with that. There's more. There's a lot of South Sandwich Islands. You come up here. Again, that could totally be fossilized dragon nose sticking out of the ocean, especially with the volcanoes.
Yep.
Right? Also, these are... I'll get that later. These are two separate volcanoes, by the way, that look really similar, which if it's the same being, of course. Don't read that yet. Good. It's important. Okay, so now we get into this image down here. So that, of course, is this guy up here that we've just been exploring this entire time.
Yep.
So... do you see this line right here?
Yes.
That is a fault line. So then we get into some more of my theory here. The Bible describes the belly of the Leviathan as being sharp as glass, and every single translation of Scripture describes it as plowing the ground that it crawls on. I think that the Leviathan formed our tectonic plates.
Oh, through like digging
by
through.
Slithering around, by digging
okay.
into the ground in the world. Because look, that looks like a path. He was headed here.
Yeah.
He's been here before. Yeah. Okay. Now I just have an extra map just in case. Okay. Now I'm going to get into my theological half of this.
Okay.
Which is here's the theological bit. The Leviathan in the Bible represents bad chaos. Every time we see well, not every time. There's an exception that I did not look into, and maybe we can figure that out. It's odd. But the Leviathan in the Bible represents bad chaos. Bad chaos also represents Satan, okay? But I do think that the Leviathan actually existed, which per my theory, and that God fought the Leviathan and destroyed it before we get to Genesis 1.
Okay.
and then used the Leviathan body as the basis of the world, and the core of the earth, which is like a hot core of the earth, is actually the core of the Leviathan.
Because especially if it's a fire-breathing serpent, that would track.
And it would also be really on brand for God to use what is meant for evil, which would be this Leviathan, for good, to create life. And then, catch me on this, not only is it using something that was bad, meant to create life, it is using something that was representing bad chaos to create life. Now, who represents good chaos and can create life? Women. Which is it's just an interesting, there's this parallel here. Also, it is, and some people follow this theory, and I don't believe them, that there was actually 2 Leviathans. God killed the female one so that it could no longer reproduce, which I don't think holds water. I don't think that there's 2 Leviathans, but the fact that we decided that he killed the female one, because you could also kill the male one, and also we couldn't create life, also kind of tells me that this is the representation of chaos. Okay, so, yeah. Now let me get into my evidence here, which is a lot. Okay, so the most evidence we have, the most description we have of the Leviathan is from God himself, by the way. People do not really describe the Leviathan, probably because they've never seen it. Okay, but they know it's there. And that is in Job 41. The entire chapter is a glaze of the Leviathan. It's just this big, mighty being. I'm not going to read all of Job 41 to you. That's too much. I'm not explaining all of that. But I do have some highlights for you from Job 41.
Alrighty.
Job 41, 18 through 21. Its snorting throws out flashes of light. Its eyes are like rays of dawn. Flames stream from its mouth. Sparks of fire shoot out. Smoke pours from its nostrils as from a boiling pot over burning reeds.
That...
A volcano.
Yeah, that's what I was going to... Yeah.
That's a volcano. So then I have this connected here to the ring of fire. But then you go, but what about the Arctic dragon? And what about the Arabian Sea dragon that aren't connected, really, to the ring of fire? Job 26:12. By his power, he churned up the sea. By his wisdom, he cut Rahab to pieces. Rahab is another name for the Leviathan. Cut Rahab to pieces. Now, is the whole Leviathan cut to pieces? No. I think that we get little pieces of this throughout the Bible of God, of the story of God fighting the Leviathan. I think this is part of the story. I think God cut off 2 heads of the Leviathan, the one that's in the Arctic Ocean and the one that's in the Arabian Sea.
Which would be why they don't connect directly.
Which is why they don't directly connect.
The crazy thing with that too, I'll have to look into this. But I want to say I've heard other mythological stories that kind of sound like that.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Boy. I have that. I have them compiled right here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then this, which is actually the next point, we get into Job 41:30 that says, its belly covered with scales as sharp as glass. It plows up the ground as it drags through the mud, which is what I said before. I think it carved the tectonic plates. I think it was here when the world was just water. Okay. Now I have this connected tectonic plates. Now we're going to go into, okay, what do other people say about this? Here's the mythology. You ready? Oh, this is so good. This is one of those I was like, the next point after this one, by the way, so I'm going to go through the mythology. The next one after this is the one that convinced me. So Mesopotamia, you have Marduk and Tiamat, which Marduk slays a dragon. I would like to point this out, goddess, and then uses the body of the dragon goddess to create the world.
No.
Do you know what he does with this body to create the world? Splits it in half, bottom, like earth and sky. Which, what did God do in Genesis?
He separated the land from the yeah.
Yeah.
He separated the land from the sky.
Yeah.
Yes. Isn't that a crazy coincidence?
Yeah.
Especially when a lot of other Mesopotamian stories align with Christian theology.
Yes, they do.
Old Christian stories.
Okay. You have the Greeks. Zeus defeated a multi-headed chaos monster with lightning. Now, I bring us back to the Philippine Sea. I also have, what does that say? In Job 26:13, it says, by his breath, the skies became fair. His hand pierced the gliding serpent. Now, piercing the gliding serpent could also be killing it with a lightning rod.
Okay.
Now I go to the Philippine Sea.
Things.
This is why this is my favorite one. Does that not look like lightning to you?
I can see.
Oh.
It kind of goes through the tip of the nose here.
Yeah.
I think it was pierced. I don't know if it was necessarily actually lightning. I don't know how you could fossilize lightning, okay?
Well,
but
you can. If
you
it's,
can?
Yeah, if you have sand, when lightning hits sand, it perfectly creates the lightning shape in...
I forget what the material is called, but yeah, like you can make
called a fulcrum.
lightning out of
Yeah,
sand.
yeah.
Fulcrum, yeah.
I think that is the piercing of the serpent.
The serpent with the...
And I'm going to keep the Philippine Sea open because it's going to be relevant again with the mythology.
Okay.
Which, by the way, the Greeks nowhere near the Philippine Sea.
Yeah, so why would they... Yeah.
And they can't get high enough to see this. How would they know? Okay. Here's another really interesting one that I go, is the Canaanite tale, which is, if you don't know, the Canaanites worship Baal. Baal battles and defeats Lotan, which is the Leviathan, a 7-headed serpent, representing defeat of chaos, and that secures Baal's control of the cosmos. Now, who would want to imitate God and take God's place?
Sin.
Yeah, Baal.
Which, yeah.
Isn't that insane?
And it's the exact same story. Yeah.
It's the exact same story. Yeah. Okay. Hindu. We have Indra versus Vritra, which I do think I'm saying that wrong, so I apologize. But Indra defeats a giant serpent that is actually blocking the waters to the world.
Yeah.
So when they defeat the serpent, the waters can then come to the world, so the world can then function. Which, again, so similar to God defeating the Leviathan. And then we get into Norse mythology, which is the Midgard serpent, which I think sounds like you know about, but is a snake so massive its body coils around the entire earth and residing in the ocean, and it's biting its own tail. What does that look like this serpent is doing?
Biting its tail.
Biting its tail. Which, again, this is Norse. We're in the Philippines.
There's no reason to...
Did you see that? You can't get high enough in Norse mythology to see that. How did you get that? How did you perfectly describe in multiple mythologies this serpent head right here? And again, that's why I'm like, this one's like sideways. Like, why? Why would this one specifically? And because it all relates to this.
Well, what's interesting is in Norse mythology, just to add to your theory even more with that, is the person who strikes down Jormungandr at the end of the day is Thor, which is again lightning.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So then in Isaiah 27:1, I'm going to skip some of it. We will get to all of it later. It says, Leviathan, the twisting serpent. He will slay the monster that is in the sea. The twisting serpent. You mean the serpent that's wrapped around the entire world? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so that's it for the mythology side, which is crazy.
Yes.
The whole thing is, I was like cooking last night as I'm looking through all this. Now here is the one that I went, oh yeah, no, this is just true. Job 41:34. Of all the creatures, it is the proudest. It is the king of beasts. Now, I want to also direct our attention to Satan for a second. Do you know what Satan was in heaven?
A
seraphim.
Yeah.
I thought it was an archangel.
Seraphim.
Yeah. Archangel is a class. It's like a president human.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the seraphim, the root of seraphim is snake. But seraphim together actually means burning one.
Ooh.
Fire-breathing dragon is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think that Satan is the Leviathan. I think the Leviathan is a creature that represented Satan, that God defeated. I also have here Revelation 12:3, which describes a red dragon that wipes out a third or a fourth, whatever it is, of the stars in heaven, which is Satan. And so I'm like a red dragon, a burning dragon. Yeah, okay, I see it. This is Satan. And I think that it is this creature that God defeated as a foretelling of the gospel, of a foretelling of his defeat of Satan, which my evidence for this also being so, I pulled this Luke 3:21-22, which is random. We're in Luke. We've been in the Old Testament this entire time. But this is Jesus's baptism. You're like, how does this relate? in Jesus' baptism, he goes down into the water, he's defeated, he dies, he comes, he rises again, and then what happens after he rises again? He receives the Holy Spirit in the form of a dove, which tells me that it is not foreign to God to have a literal physical symbol, a physical action that he does that represents something that is going to happen. So that means that genuinely, I think the Lord fought the Leviathan.
As a precursor to,
Yes, because it also says in the Bible that this was the plan the entire time, right? So he did know. He defeated the Leviathan, used it to create the core of the earth. And here's the other thing. I think that this one I am willing to be corrected on. Okay, honestly, most of it I'm willing to be corrected on, but I do think that I think I'm cooking here. So the fire, I think, represents bad chaos. I think that is what is representing bad chaos, not the water, because then he permanently puts the fire under the water. As like I've subdued you, I've won. You get stuck under the water, you die. What did Jesus do in his baptism? He goes under the water.
That's true,
And he gets to rise again. And so I think the water represents good chaos, whereas the fire is bad chaos, and it is now trapped under the earth. And then I have Job 41:31 quoted here, which I don't remember why that's here, so we're going to find this one out together. Oh, yes. He makes the depths seethe like a cauldron. He makes the sea like an ointment jar. Which I don't know what the heck is up with an ointment jar, but he makes the depths seethe like a cauldron. That's describing the Leviathan.
Yeah, which would totally be an underwater volcano.
Yeah, or even the depths of the earth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is my Leviathan theory. That I hope that was worth the wait,
yes,
guys.
that
actually was incredible. Worth the wait. That is.
Yeah, I was also going to say that would, especially with the whole the creatures being the representations of it, it would be interesting because the form that Satan chose to take is a snake. Still.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that he was a snake already. I do think that the seraphim literally look like snakes.
Okay.
I think that that's a possibility. I mean, I'm sure they could change form. I don't know. They're spiritual beings, okay?
Yeah.
But I do think that the seraphim, because when, I believe it was Ezekiel, one of those two actually saw the seraphim and described them as snakes, snake-like.
Typical things, they are portrayed with having 3 wings, or like 3 sets of wings, and like I think 3 eyes, 3 hands, 3 feet, things of that.
Yeah.
Kind of going off of the rule of 3, which would be interesting if you have a satanic or evil version of that then gains an additional 1 for one thing or another. Like maybe the 6 wings could be representative of something.
Yeah.
In terms of like 6, whatever, right? And then the 7th would be a representation of chaos, possibly.
Yeah, well, and then I'm like, I wonder if that one head has everything to it. It's biting the tail. It has the lightning. I'm like, I wonder if that was like the big bad. That was like
the head.
The head of the, which is weird because the other one, the first one I showed you guys down by, that's like by Antarctica. That's like between South America and Antarctica. Yeah, I think that's right. That one's huge. This is the one that everyone's pointing to going, there's dragons under the ocean. That one's massive. So you would think that's the head, but it's not because the other one has all of the other symbolism with it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And here's the other thing. There's 2 scriptures that do not align. And that is in the Psalms.
Okay.
I do not remember one of them. I meant to write them down before I came here and I forgot. But one of them is like, you made the ocean so the Leviathan could frolic in the ocean. That one, I'm like, yeah, you're describing a whole different being because the Leviathan represents evil in every other place in the Bible. So why in the Psalms is the Leviathan not really evil?
The Leviathan is symbolic of Satan. It could just be the idea of like that is kind of the purpose of things you create for, but they rebel against you. It could be like in the context of the Psalm, it might be more so about that because a lot of Psalms are like, oh God, you were so good, but everyone hates you.
Well,
things like that.
Especially with the going off of your idea of the Leviathan creates the tectonic plates, then potentially before Satan's rebellion, the Leviathan existed, and that's what its purpose was, to roll around and frolic in the ocean to create the tectonic plates. But then after Satan fell, it became a symbol, and then God had to kill it.
Yeah, well, because it also describes in Revelation that red fiery dragon being thrown to the earth, which would also make sense to me. I think that in some places too, like there was just a huge impact because if you notice, the actual like noses of these serpents are actually part of the tectonic plates. And I'm like, no, I think you hit the ground. I think God slammed you down so hard that you morphed into it. I think that they became part of the tectonic plates at that point.
So,
which especially with the one head, obviously there's the secondary head that he cut off, but the one head with the lightning and it's biting its own tail. The description of it's the son of Eve will crush one head is what, or like
that's
specific,
true,
but it would say crush the head of. And so I was like, I wonder then if, like you said, there was one big important head and that one, got pierced with the lightning bolt. It's the one that's talked about as like Jesus is going to crush it when he returns, that sort of thing. And it's the one head that's for some reason important.
Because then you do have that dragon revelation. Then I know we talked about with the 7 heads with the one wounded one. Mm-hmm. I know you mentioned that it's not that.
I don't think it's a Leviathan. I think that if this Leviathan ever woke up, which by the way, I do think it's decaying. Remember the methane gas?
Yes.
It's dead.
No, yeah.
But should this Leviathan ever actually wake up? No, the entire world's destroyed. God used it for the foundations of the world.
Yeah.
There's no way.
But plus, especially in Revelation, like we were talking about this last night, I think the 7-headed dragon is much more indicative of a not a physical concept, because the beast is also like in line with the Whore of Babylon, which would be really weird because she can kind of like talk to / control it kind of. And if it's a woman controlling political leaders, that makes a lot more sense than a woman controlling a giant creature that's, but it would make a lot more sense rather than it being an actual giant dragon.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even just to go back to like the fighting thing in Job 41, where God's describing all that, you know what the point is? Do you know why did he even describe the Leviathan? Is because he was going, yeah, Job, you're small. I defeated this thing. And so God is bragging about his war victory. And I'm going, yeah, God's not gonna, I don't know, why would you describe something so in detail and then it's not real?
Mm-hmm. That can even be interesting because kind of like what I mentioned with the seraphim, like the 6 wings potentially like representing something. So that's when you have like when it's something demonic, like the Leviathan, like the beast. So 7 tends to be a common representation in that. Like it's just one of those things I think goes to show that there's just so much more about the world as it is, and even just about the spiritual world that we just will never know.
Well,
at least until after we die.
Think about this. The reason 7 is important is because the 7 days of creation, right? So God creates everything, and then he on the 7th day, he rested, right? So I'm like, I wonder then if we track it, the 6th day would have been when it's generally believed that's the day he created mankind, right? Yeah. So I wonder if it's then the head he cut off being the 6th head, right, is the ties to mankind. Like that sort of like, you don't get to control them. You might like that sort of thing. And then the 7th one, the resting one, if you destroy that one, well, then the other 5 go. Because if they can't rest, eventually they'll just die out because they can't sustain themselves. Whereas, again, God put in nature that 7, on the 7th, you rest.
Yeah.
And I wonder if that's why that one head is so important. You kill that one, the resting one, the one that's supposed to restore like balance, the whole thing goes out of whack and it just dies.
Potentially, yeah.
I mean, he cut the one off, right?
Yeah.
But then he also still struck the head of the other one. Mm-hmm. But also, how did they know all this? Have you thought about that one yet? How did they know? They weren't there. They have never in their lives seen a Leviathan.
Leviathan, yeah.
How?
If Job takes place before the flood, I can imagine that story gets around.
That's fair.
Like, that's just something that Job is like, hey, like he goes back to his friends like,
well,
like this thing.
Not even that, but I'm pretty sure God speaks to Job while his friends are there at some points. At one point, they're trying to like tempt him away, and God speaks to Job, and his friends are like present and can hear God as well. So there's very possibility that like his friends just heard it too. Like
that's true. I guess I was kind of under the impression that that like it was intentionally left out of the Genesis story.
Yeah,
like they knew that had happened, and then just left it out of the Genesis story. Because think about, how did the Norse people find this? How did this get everywhere else?
Well, there's Lucifer's fall is not in Genesis either. Mm-hmm. So I wonder then if it's Abraham in covenant with God, because I think there's even a point when like an angels show up to Abraham like directly, and they're just chilling and talking with him. I wonder if it's over time
All right. I'm gonna be so free with y'all. We did not record an outro for this episode. That's on me. Sorry about that. So this is gonna be the outro. Thank you so much for watching. Join us next week for episode 5 where we rank pizza franchises. So, your Pizza Huts, your Little Caesars, your Papa Juan's, that type of stuff. So, I think you already said it. Thank you so much for watching. Bye, adios, and see you later.